Yo everyone, welcome to the next. Excuse me. Welcome to the next episode of this podcast. And let's see. So welcome to the podcast journey to my ideal lifestyle. Okay, I had to practice a few times, get used to saying that. And again, to recap, the main big three things you'll be going through this in this podcast will be first, systems hacking, right? How do you hack your daily systems to reach your goals faster, more efficiently, and without you feeling as if you're torturing yourself through the whole process? The next thing we'll be going through is mindset training. So mindset also includes your mental resilience, which by nature or as a subset of it would include your emotional control, right? And the third thing we'll be going through as well will be about social interactions, right? And also I'll be peppering, I thought about it yesterday, I'll be peppering my own knowledge on starting your own business, coaching, consulting business, or even an ad agency. Okay, so because those are the things that right now I know what to do, how to do, and that's where I feel the world is kind of moving towards, right? Now there's this hype about going online and starting your own business, and with all this COVID as well, really sparking the flame, right? Sparking the flame of this movement towards everything being online. So anyway, for today's topic, let's start with the first thing, the first agenda, which will be I'll be talking more today about systems hacking and what that really means to me and how you can use it to really better optimize your daily life, right, in reaching your goals. So the first thing to take note is that systems in itself, what are systems, right? I remember the first time I actually ever heard of this term systems or systems thinking was after my national service. Because again, I'm in Singapore, right? So I have to serve 2 years of national service. I was in the police force for 2 years. But when that ended, I think in December 2015 or 2016, what happened was after that I had around 5 months to really, just do anything I wanted before my college started. So then what happened was that I hooked up with a friend. I just so happened that at that point in time, a friend of mine, contacted me, and this was a really good friend of mine at the time. His name is Gabriel. So Gabriel contacted me, and Gabriel was the only one in my network of hundreds of people. He was the only one I knew, apart from my own older brother, who actually was into entrepreneurship. And he was in one of the local universities in Singapore, so that's pretty good, right? You have a good lifestyle, you have a good career path ahead of you once you graduate from there. But what happened with Gabriel was the first year after his university, where he was doing great, he was I think part of the part of the committee for some big, their I don't know what it's called, their facility, their faculty, I have no idea, some committee faculty. So basically, he's doing great in college, right? But then after the first year, he actually took a gap year, because Gabriel himself, I think he's the youngest son out of a family, and his older brother as well is doing business, so he runs in his family. So he took his first gap year from school, and then after which he started doing online marketing. I think he was doing email marketing, right? And that's when he actually hooked me up and said, hey, he spoke for a bit. He was the only person at the time, I think I was 19, who was able to really fuck me up. And by fuck me up, I mean in a really good way, when you meet him, and I met him, he was the only guy who was able to tell me, dude, you're doing jack shit with your life, right? And that was the kind of the force that I needed. To be frank, at the point in time, based on my own network, right, that I was the guy to everyone else, right? But he was that guy to me. So then we met up a few times, here and there. He told me, doing jack shit, tried to help me out, tried to push me in the right direction. And finally one day, I think he had a contact. The contact's name was Samuel, and he said, hey, my friend is looking, he's an email marketer, he's looking for a guy to do copywriting for him. And he asked me how was my English, and I think because he knew me, he knew I could really socialize with people, I could really connect with people, back in school. I knew this guy back in junior college, right? So then he asked if I wanted to try it out. So that's when I got connected to Samuel. And Samuel was, he is, I think he currently still is, he's an email marketer. So he had a list of 50,000 people, and from there he sold products, and I think his niche was mainly in the self-development slash meditation, spirituality niche. So that was when I got hooked up with Samuel. So anyway, yeah, that's a story for another time. But basically, this systems thinking, this concept of systems and how everything is connected, right? It was first introduced to me by Gabriel. And at the time, Gabriel was a huge, impetus in my life in terms of business. So he sent me this audiobook. It's called Work the System, right? And to me, that has been a game changer. So the main concept found, or rather discussed in Work the System, actually, is that everything in our life is connected, is interconnected, right? If we look at it through the lens of our daily processes being a system, so a whole machine, it can be very enlightening, and we can position ourselves as the master mechanic of sorts, the systems engineer, the master mechanic that oversees the entire system from the ground up, from the third person perspective. You can see where exactly in a point in life are there like leakages, are there like inefficiencies, are there like destructive, maybe like components that are destructive, right? That you need to tweak, you need to repair, you need to fix, right? So that's where systems thinking came about. And the main thing I think they were trying to propose was that you can systemize your business, right? So in the book, the guy was like, oh, I own a business for how many years, and for like a good part of 10-15 years, my wife left me, and I was left to raise my kids on my own, and I was running my own business, but I was actually the slave to my business. I'm sure you guys have heard of this concept before. He was the slave to his business. He was working like, 15 hours a day. He still had to manage his kids and everything. But everything changed the moment he realized that his business should be perceived as a system, and he is the master architect to tweak the system. Every component of his business is one phase of the system, and he has to look at it as a business owner. It is his responsibility to look at it from the biggest perspective, get a big picture overall view, and then see which part needs tweaking. He should be doing that instead of being a part of the system as well, right? And then working, and when you make the mistake of being part of the system yourself, what happens is that you get lost in the daily ebb and flow of fighting fires, you know what I mean? Instead of being in the big picture view and delegating tasks or optimizing a component of the system and getting yourself actually more and more out of the system, and as the architect, engineering, the composer, not a composer, the orchestra person who, what do you call it? The conductor, right? Conductor of the orchestra, where you tweak and then you direct the flow instead of being part of it and fighting fire and having your time exchange for profit or money. So basically, that's the whole history for me as to how I came about this systems thinking. So for you, how does this apply? Like right now, I don't know your current situation. My guess is if you're listening to this, you're probably 18 to maybe 30, I guess. And this is my guess right now, because and let's see, another guess could be that you definitely will have some areas in your life you want to improve on. So I'm assuming fitness, or maybe your school goals in terms of your results, or maybe your entrepreneurship pursuits, right? So how to go about doing this is this is the way to take the first step into systems thinking, right? In terms of your life. Think of your life. Let's say you take a blank piece of paper and put it in front of you, right, with a pen. Next, I want you to write out exactly how your life is right now. So what are the sequence of events? Let's say to your typical day, right? Write down the sequence of events. So let's say maybe you typically wake up at 8 a.m., 9 a.m., I don't know. Maybe even 12 p.m., whatever, right? So write it down. So I wake up at 12 p.m. and then after that I do this, I scroll my phone for this number of hours on average, right? On average, just get it done. On average, the next step will be I play my phone, and then the next step is I text my friends to head for lunch or for breakfast or whatever. And then next, only then maybe after that at maybe 3 p.m. that's when I do some work or something, and then 6 p.m. I start, gym, what have you, right? And 8 to 10 p.m. and sometimes it can be shit, like it can be like 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. All you do is scroll your phone, right? Watch YouTube, binge watch, write it down, right? This is the first step, to write everything down. Now, once you've written everything down for your typical day, congratulations, you've done the first step in being a systems thinker, right? In terms of tinkering your own lifestyle and optimizing your lifestyle. Why? Because now when you set it down on paper, you're actually taking yourself out as a third person perspective instead of just being part of the whole flow, being a cog in the machine, you know what I mean? So then, now when you're having the third person perspective, that is when you can actually, now for me, I would use a different colored pen. I like different colors, even though, fun fact, I'm partially colorblind, right? But I take a different color pen, let's say from black, I take it to blue now, and now the blue color will be how actually I will, which areas in my system, which is my life, my daily life, which areas do I really want to tweak, which areas do I really want to optimize, which areas really has to, improve. So perhaps now, perhaps now you have your paper, right? Let's say you realize that shit, from 8 p.m. all the way to 1 a.m. I'm using my phone to actually just scroll on Instagram, go on YouTube, and do all this redundant stuff you already think and you know is redundant, right? What you do then, you can circle with the blue pen, circle that component. That is now a component in your system that has to be re-engineered. It has to be redesigned, right? Think of it that way. You have to redesign that component of your life, right? That whole big component, you have to redesign it, circle it out. Now, first thing you do, draw an arrow beside it, pointing to it or away from it, right? Draw an arrow and say, now, write down bullet points. Write down write this down. First bullet point, right? What is your aim? AIM. What's your aim? Then write it down. So, for example, in this case, your aim could be, I want to, instead of 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., why not we have it earlier? Let's make it 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Okay, I give myself it's still plenty of time, right? I give myself 2 hours to do nothing. I just scroll to catch up on my social life, online life, whatever you want to call it, right? So 2 hours, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. instead of 8 a.m. to 1 a.m. right? And then now, what the next step you need to do, this is like a 3-step process. The next step you need to do, the second step, is that now that you've written down your aim, what do you do with the excess time? So what happens now from 10 p.m. all the way to 1 a.m. right? So next step after aim, right? New component. What do you write it down? New component, or rather new addition, if you like. And then right, so now 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. what can I do? Then maybe 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. just to get started. Why don't you just write down, read about, what's the book again that I mentioned? Snap, how can I forget the book? I just said it. So basically 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. maybe you can write down, read about something educational or educate myself, right? About business or about systems thinking or about habits, about mindset, what have you. But just write it down. So the main thing I want to share here is that when you replace the system, when you look at your paper, right, the system already is there. The system is always there. Is whether or not you're conscious of it or you're not, right? So now that it's there, when you change your initial time block of 8 p.m. to 1 a.m., you change it down to 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., there is now an excess, there is now room for something else. You must take note, there is no space, there is no place for vacuum. There's no vacuum in your life, in your system. There can be no vacuum. So if you remove the time block of 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. you remove it from being, scrolling or just using your phone for fun. If you remove that component, there will definitely be something else replacing it, whether you know it or not. And if you don't consciously create something to replace it, you will naturally gravitate back to the old habit of just scrolling your phone for the time. It's very crucial, so keep that in mind. Right, so how you counter that now is that now you need to write down exactly what you're going to do from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. which you're taking away from your useless scrolling time. So you can write down 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. Educate myself, read more about business, for example. And then 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. you need to replace it with something else. So if it were me and I was sleeping at like 1 a.m., I'm okay with that. I'll probably I'll put 11 p.m. to 12 p.m. What I would do is maybe I would plan my day or find a place to reconnect my emotions. I don't know, what have you, right? And then I would plan my day. I would put, so 10 to 11 p.m. I will be educating myself. 11 p.m. to 12 a.m. I will be reconnecting in my emotions and ending, or maybe you could even do the mundane task, right? So the leftover tasks that I have left, whatever. Then 12 a.m. I personally would try my best to sleep earlier, right? So then I'll put 12 a.m. sleep. Okay, So then 12 a.m. to 1 a.m. will be occupied by sleep. So you see how this works. Instead of you need to first write down. So that's the second step. So first step, you write down what's your current system like, which is your daily life. The second step you need to write down is how do I choose a component you want to tweak, you want to re-engineer, you want to redesign, and then you need to replace that component with a better component. So second step is you need to write down your aim. You need to write down the new component, the new addition that you're replacing, right? To optimize your system. So that's how this thing works, right? So once you really get the hang of it, the groove, you get into the groove of it, you realize, shit, my entire life is an entire system that is all connected, right? Because if you sleep earlier at 12 a.m., like what I suggested, then the next day you go back from the end of it, right? So if you're watching this, it'll be here. So from the end of it at 12 a.m., when you sleep earlier by 1 hour, it will affect the next morning when you come back to the beginning of the system. Right now, you can probably wake up 1 hour earlier. So what can you do in that 1 hour? And now this will be the beginning of your new day, right? And this can then be further leveraged, right, to be a power move. It can be a very, very, very influential move you do at the start of your day that will prime you for a better optimization for the rest of the day. So that's the beginning of like systems thinking and how important it is, right, for everyone to really understand and to reclaim control of their life and thereby their ability to reach their goals, right? So that's what I wanted to share for today. Maybe one last component is I'll just share also about how this has really impacted me. I think systems thinking itself was a gradual process, but once you realize that it's there, it's really, really, really empowering, right? And actually, to be fair, actually, it's impacted me so much that only now that I realize it, looking back, I'm actually, in college, what I was trained. I am now currently in training, right? I graduate next year, but I'm actually a systems engineer myself. Maybe that's why it's biased, but yeah. So what we do is that we kind of learn about the main thing they teach us is optimization. The typical career path that people who graduate from my course typically go to will be like supply chain optimization, finance, business analytics, anything else? Basically that's it, right? But yeah, that's not for me. But that also goes to show how important systems thinking really is. And even in future, when if yourself, and for me as well, I can imagine myself, owning multiple businesses. And in order to really own the businesses and live the lifestyle that I want, that would include being able to know how to look at a glance the KPIs of each business, right? And then making the very quick and super effective decisions on each business, what needs to be done and focused on, who needs to be called for that day, right? Can you imagine in the morning, maybe if I drink coffee, I'm drinking my coffee, I'm just looking at the numbers for that day, for the previous day, while I was asleep, right? And then straight away, this number needs to be tweaked, this KPI is below standard. I call the right person, the manager, the person in charge for that part of my business, call him, make sure he gets it done, right? He gets it improved. Then the next part, I look through my different businesses and I see, this other number is below KPI. That's when I call him, you need to tweak this part of the system, right? Let's say the cost of acquiring a customer has become too high, right? Based on that metric, call that guy up and say, hey, this is done. So what's happening right now? Tell me. And then he tells you, for example, he can tell me, the cost of advertising has been this amount. This is our copy for the ad. We're doing on this platform. Then straight away I can say, okay, I already know that stuff. So this I can see through the systems lens. Now you need to tweak your copywriting. For example, is it doing ABC correctly? Are you choosing the right platform? How are you bidding for the ad? Stuff like that. How is the funnel like? So that's an example of how systems thinking will be really, really, really impactful even in future. Assuming you want to go into business, but even if you're not, right? Even if you're trying to go into the career path, right? In terms of balancing, let's say your work-life balance, in terms of task handling when you get to work and there's like a heap of tasks, how do you better systemize your life? How do you better systemize your time between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. such that you leave your office on time and you can go and head home on time to take care of your kids, right? So I really believe it's everywhere, and so I hope the exercise I just shared will help you tremendously, and I know that it can. So with that, I think that will be the end of this episode, except for one more thing. Let me just share what I'll be doing today. So recently I just I was really looking for a lot of help and resources online for driving traffic, because I already have my funnel created for married men. I'm helping married men in the West to improve their intimacy and feelings of connectedness with their wife in their marriage, right? So I have the funnel up. I created the front end product. It's like 11-12 pages long. Sorry, that is the lead magnet. The front end product is, I think, maybe 20 pages long. So I got that mainly up, and now the funnel's there. I already have my pieces put in place, engineered. Now I just need to test the funnel by driving traffic over. But that's when I realized, shit, I've reached a bit of a hurdle, because I know how to drive paid ads, but I think it is a bit of an outdated, outdated, how do you call it, teachings, right? So now I realize that I'm a bit stuck. So the past 3-4 days, actually, I've been really stuck on how do I drive this traffic. There can be some, I know some game plan. I even have a plan for the organic traffic, but I don't know why. It's just something emotionally is stopping me, because I think I don't have enough certainty in the plan itself. So that's really stopping me from really going all out in doing it. But recently I signed up for this program. Actually, I signed up for a few programs. I probably spent like a few $100s in the past 2-3 days to kind of get the right resource for myself, in front of me. So then what happened was that I spent like a couple $100, and I think I finally found one product which I think will help me out. Is by this guy from Malaysia. He's called Peng Jun. Right now I think his company is doing at least how many figures? 8 figures, I think. 7, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, should be 8 figures. He's in Russell Brunson's ClickFunnels Club X. So that's when you hit at least 8 figures for one business. So then he has this program about driving traffic. It's a video, or rather it's a video challenge. So you create all the content for your ads, I think, in 21 days. So that's what I currently have signed up for. So that will be what I'll be mainly doing for the coming days. But today is Friday, so Friday I have my own, again, so for me, I can reverse to link back to systems thinking, right? I already have a generic kind of outline for my days, my weeks, right? And then so Friday for me is a day where I do work for sure, but around 4-5 p.m. that's when I start playing Dota 2 with my brothers. If you play Dota 2, my IGN is ASD21109, right? But anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so that's what's happening for me. So I'll be driving traffic. I need to catch up on this other program I'm doing, which is called Livebook. Livebook is pretty good. Livebook, what they're doing is that they are actually help you to get very clear on the main components of your life. So I'll talk more about maybe what I learned from these courses in future episodes, right? So I need to catch up on that. And one final thing is every Saturday I have a group like discussion with a couple of my friends, 3 of my other friends. And we are currently reading this book, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. So then there's a lot of catching up for me to do. I have to complete 2 chapters by tomorrow. So that's basically what's happening today. So with that, thanks for listening in, and I hope to see you on the next episode. See you, bye.